Good morning. It is March 13th today. Headed down south to walk a permission property here. As you can see, it's still dark out. Got a little bit of a drive, probably like an hour 20, hour and 30 minutes to get down to the farm. But gonna be walking a big chunk of ground today. We actually got the MAV hunt loaded up. We are going to buzz around on that on the property today if we can. And hopefully that'll kind of cut down on some of the walking. But it's a pretty good sized chunk of ground. It's like 800 plus acres. So there's a lot of places antlers could be hiding. So not really sure what to expect here. I haven't been on this farm in the past, so it looks good from an aerial. So we're gonna get out there though soon here, and it's rainy, overcast day today. Should be a great day for shed hunting, as long as we can find some pockets where some deer have been hanging out. But let's go get wet. Just caught eyes on a deadhead here. It looks pretty good too. Take a look at it here. Been laying here a while. Pretty solid deer. I'm only about 50 yards from the bike here, but we're looking for sheds. We're not looking for deadheads, unfortunately. Keep moving. All right, so I just got to the second section on this farm. This is actually the bigger part of the farm. I decided to not go to this first this morning because the other side didn't have cattle on it. I thought maybe if there's fresh antlers, they'd be hanging out in there more. We'd have found some, but no sign of anything. So I'm gonna come in here, not really sure what to expect. Like I said, there's cattle everywhere. There's not a ton of cover that I can see, but it does drop into like a creek system on the north end of this property. So I'm kind of banking on when I get back in there, hopefully that if there's any deer on this farm, that's where they're hanging out. But this is a pretty good chunk here, so it's going to take a decent amount of walking to get back on the other end of the farm. But it's nice out right now. It's overcast, a little breezy, kind of misting, but a good day to be out walking on the far north end of this farm. And I found there's a little section here that the cattle can't get into. And there's actually some deer sign in it. I kicked a couple deer up just now. So I'm gonna probably comb this pretty good. This is probably gonna be my best bet if I'm gonna find any antlers. It ain't much, but it counts. This is looks like a dead buck that shed out or something. When it died, it's been laying here quite a while. That's got to be one of the saddest antlers I've ever found. But I guess we could say we're on the board. Keep going through here and see if we can find anything else. Just on my way back to the vehicle right now. Pretty much gonna call it a day here walking this piece. It's been honestly pretty disappointing. Like I said, there's just not not nearly the cover I was hoping. Got into one little pocket and picked up one pitiful shed. At least got something to walk away with, but I'm just gonna call it a day here, tuck my tail and head home. But I'm gonna try and get out the next couple days. I wanna do some scouting down in Missouri. There's a couple pieces on onyx that I've been looking at, and I've been thinking about if I get the opportunity, I might try doing a little bit of hunting down there this year. So I'm gonna head down there in a couple days, walk some pieces, follow along with. I think we'll run into some good stuff.
Down. Got me down. I'm happy with them. Really excited to put a wrap on a quick North Dakota season for myself.
Holy smokes. That is a heck of a deer.
It's Saturday, March 16th today. Headed down to Missouri to check some public out here today. And it's a beautiful morning out. The temps are already in the mid 40s. It's probably gonna get up into the 50s, maybe even 60s today. Great day to just get out and do some scouting. But I'm pretty excited. Like, one of my favorite things to do is check out new ground, and we're going down and checking out a new piece of public that I have plans potentially hunting this year. Kind of want to have this just in my back pocket. It's close enough to home, so I figured if I was lucky enough to tag out or want to give some of my Iowa farms a break, I could go try hunting Missouri for a day here or there throughout the entire season. So I'm gonna put some boots on the ground today though. This piece of public I have never been on. There's one other piece I was at that's probably like 20-30 minutes from here. I checked it out a couple years ago, so I already got kind of one piece in mind that I'm gonna focus on, but I want to have at least one or two other options. Two more options I'd say going into season. So got about an hour and a half drive, and we'll be getting into it. All right, just got out here to this public piece, and kind of initial impression here. Back by the parking lot, there was some bean fields. They're all cut, and on onyx you could tell in the past there was fields back in here. So I got a few pins, one of the northeast, one or two up to the north, and then one to the west here I wanted to check. And there's kind of a main road system that runs up in here, and there's just fingers that come out, and we're kind of on the top of all this ridge system. And it looks like on onyx, at least, it looked like there was stuff planted in here, food plots, things like that. Old egg fields. These first couple fields I'm walking through are just all CRP. Looks like they converted back. Must have been within the last few years, because in the past it appeared to be planted into something agriculture. But there's definitely a lot of cover here, a lot of oak timber you can see behind me, and all the trees around the bases are burnt. So they definitely do a bunch of burning in here in the hardwoods, along with probably in a lot of this CRP stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of work this ridge system, this trail system, just to get a better idea how stuff lays out, what there is for food back here. And then there's some ridges and tops on these ridges that I got marked, and I'll get more into walking those, where I would probably potentially hunt up in the wooded areas. Not really going into today planning on finding sheds, but if we find something to be a bonus. Stuff's actually starting to green up quite a bit here. Within the last week, we've had such a warm, mild winter that there's already starting to be a lot of green cover coming up from the ground, along with a lot of the trees budding. So it'd probably be a little tough to find antlers, but if we can get one or two, that'd be just a bonus. We're just down in this bottom right now. I'm about, I would say 150 yards from the ridge top I want to check out, but I'm definitely going to mark this spot on Onyx. So what we got here to the west of us, we got the creek bed that we just crossed, and there's a bunch of like cedar thickets down below here. In this spot, we got just a drainage that comes and it levels out right here before going back up and wrapping around the hill. And it's kind of tough to see right now, but there's a pretty good trail right running this whole flat, runs north to south, right along the edge of the creek here, about 20 yards off the edge of the creek. This is definitely a spot I'm going to mark. I feel like with this open woods here on both sides, it's flattening out on this end. I could just see bucks running this during the rut. And we already got, there's a couple trees up here, kind of tough to see, but right on that flat, there's a couple trees that you could get in easily enough in a saddle. Some decent deer sign in here, nothing too crazy yet I've gotten into, but there were some rubs back in here. Definitely deer using this. So I just got up on this ridge top here. This is the spot I actually had pinned when I was e-scouting this. And just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why I decided to mark this location. Looking at it on the map, it was a pretty good hike from the vehicle to get back in here. It's kind of tucked back in on this piece of public. You got to come down the draw and back up to get into here. And it butts up on the east end of this. There's neighboring property. And I could tell on Onyx that they had, looks like food plots, things like that, to the east of us. And as far as bedding cover goes, this ridge top would be kind of the main travel, I assumed, from them deer coming back from the food source on the private to come back in here to bed during the day. It's kind of open up here. This bowl wraps around here. So I marked this top right here just 'cause I think these deer will travel us during the rut and wrap around it. And if you go down the hill, you actually run right into the first spot I marked. But then if you go just off this hill to the north, it gets more into like cedar and kind of a little bit of mix of some CRP bedding. I'm gonna dip down into that, but that looks like it'd be a really good bedding area for deer too. Really like how this looks up here. Not seeing a ton of rub sign up in here, but there was a pretty good trail that runs this ridge top. So I would think, like, as far as rut hunting, which that's probably the majority of the hunting I'll do here, I would think you'll get some pretty good daytime buck cruising back up in here. And you're far enough off the main trails where I think you'll be away from people. And like I said, you're hopefully cutting deer off coming back from the private in the mornings. So I got another spot. We gotta go back down the draw, come up on the other side, and we'll go check that one out. So I just came off this bean field to the west here. I noticed it was a lot thicker on this west side compared to where I had that pin mark to the north. And came in here, there's a bunch of good CRP grass right along the edge of the bean field, and then it drops down into this, it's actually really thick and nasty up along this ridge point. I tried walking down it, it's just all briars, and I just turned around, but I'm sure there's actually probably a decent amount of deer that are bedding off these points. And right here it kind of opens up and then leads up into that bean field. I'm gonna mark this spot on Onyx. It kind of seems like it'd be a stupid spot, but I'm sure it's a spot that's overlooked because it's only maybe 200 yards from the vehicle. It'd be an easy in and out spot. And definitely if there's food up on these fields in the fall, I think this would be a decent afternoon set, catching some of these deer coming off of these ridges to come out to the bean field at night. So we'll get this spot marked, and then we're gonna get out of here and check out just kind of the remainder of this public. I just went a few miles down the road here to another parking spot and located actually some corn, cut corn from last year. So I'm gonna go back in here just quick, and I want to see how far this goes in, because there is quite a bit of timber off to the northwest here, and but this at least looks promising. So I'm gonna hike back in here, probably not spend too much time in here. I got one other spot I want to check before I head out of here, but at least to get a game plan if I was to hunt this, kind of where I could set up. All right, so I was able to locate 2 cut cornfields on this section of the public. I'm just gonna take a little spin through here. There's kind of like a cedar, CRP, grassy area. Thought maybe I'd find some sheds in here. Probably won't, but figured it's worth a try. But no, I'm just glad that I was able to locate a little bit more food on this. This will at least open up another option. And really, kind of how this lays out, it looks like you could set up on these cornfields pretty well. So that definitely will give us a couple more possibilities to try out here. Just wrapping up my scouting day down here in Missouri. It was a pretty productive day. Learned a lot. I thought I had a pretty good idea doing e-scouting on Onyx, and for the most part I was able to narrow down a handful of spots. Really until I got here, I was able to fine-tune a lot more of the ground I was walking and learn it a lot better. One of the key takeaways from scouting this is some of the areas that you think might have food on these public properties, just by what it looks like on Onyx, ain't always the case. I see that quite a bit in Iowa too. So really getting on the property and putting boots on the ground is really the best way to learn where you're gonna have consistent food, hopefully throughout the year. Other thing I learned here just recently as I was driving through the rest of this public, I did locate a couple more cornfields. One of them was a standing cornfield, and the last one I found here was just a cut cornfield off the road on the public. But a lot of these roads are very well maintained, something I'm not used to with hunting public ground in Iowa. Kudos to Missouri Department of Conservation. They do a hell of a job keeping their public properties well kept up, but you can definitely tell because of how well they're maintained and managed. There's plenty of parking spots. I got a feeling I'm gonna see a lot more people traffic here than I'm accustomed to seeing in hunting public in some other areas of the country. So we're kind of leading into turkey season and food plot season right now, and my plan is over the next couple weeks to try and do a little bit of stuff on the farms I can hunt in Iowa, get some stuff ready for tree stands and stuff cleared out, and then get into doing a little bit of food plot stuff. We have, hopefully, if it all works out, we have a big food plot project coming up, and trying to get some more food on the properties I hunt. So come along with that. And as always, thanks for watching the channel. We really appreciate you guys' support. Don't forget to throw us a like and subscribe. And if you're doing anything this spring, if you're still out shed hunting, let us know how you're doing. Or if you're like us, getting ready to do a little bit of turkey hunting and spring food plotting, let us know how those things are going also. So we'll see you guys here next time I'm live.